Hello, this is Maths 2018 question 1 part I, and for this question we just have to figure out which of these graphs shows this equation. So the way I would do this would just be by elimination. So is there anything about the graphs that we could easily check from this equation? So one thing would be to see where the intercepts are, so where does this cross the x and y axes? Okay, so let's do y-intercepts first. So what happens when I put x equals 0 in this left-hand side? So if x equals 0, then any term involving x would also be 0. Right? So this first one will be 0, so would the second one. And in fact, all of these first 4 terms would be 0. And so we'd just be left with y to the 4, and that squared equals 1, i.e. y to the 8 equals 1, so y must be plus or minus 1. So the curve crosses the y-axis at plus and minus 1. So immediately we can get rid of these graphs where it only crosses in 1 or 3 places. So we can rule out A, B and D, which means we're just left with D and C. And to distinguish between these two, what difference between them can we exploit? Well, for this one, y remains positive as x gets large, but here y goes negative. So we can use that. We can ask, can y be positive if x is large here? Okay, so suppose x is large and positive, then what happens if y is also positive? Well, if y is positive, then all of the left-hand side terms, so all of these ones in the brackets here, are positive, and therefore we'd be adding all of the terms and not subtracting it. But also, if x is really big, then all of these terms involving x would also be really large. So we're saying that we're adding up a whole bunch of really large terms, we're not subtracting anything, and then we're going to square the whole thing. So we've got something really big on the left-hand side, so of course that can't be equal to 1. So we get a contradiction if we assume that y is positive, so this graph cannot work, and we're left with C.